Well, I was kinda hoping after the last rant about Waldenhorn Hermit's ending that things would pick up again and I wouldn't need to do these kinds of videos again, but here we are again. And this time it's not just the ending of a specific story, no, it's the whole story. Or at least the whole story so far. So what story am I talking about? Well, there are just two that there are going on at the moment, so take your pick. This is of course the webcomic Chireikiden, also known as the Cheating Detective Satori. And now, firstly, I have to admit that I'm completely baffled as to why people love this series so much. I'm honestly baffled. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not all shit and feces, but quite honestly, this series is only, 8 or 9 chapters long, and it is already, in my humble opinion, the worst writing I've ever seen Zun produce. Ever. And that's taking into account the ending of WAHH. So, why do I dislike this series so greatly? What exactly does it get wrong? Well, many things, but to understand, we have to step back a little and remember what this series is supposed to or trying to be. As you may know, Zun is a great admirer of Agatha Christie and has said that she is his favorite author. So it comes as no surprise that Zun would want to make his own little detective story someday. And that day came with the start of Cheating Detective Satori. This webcomic is supposed to be Zun's take on detective story genre in Touhou setting, and I admit I was thrilled when I first heard about this. It's been a while since I at least read a good detective story, and seeing Satori as a lead character got my hopes even higher knowing her ability. Now, we didn't know this until quite far into the series, but it is actually just a single detective case instead of a series of multiple smaller cases. I was hoping we'd see many different cases instead of one larger case, but that's just my preference. Zun has the right to do what he chooses. But let's dive into the actual story and see how it goes. At the start, everything looks really promising. Patchouli has been target of an alleged murder attempt and the SDM goes into lockdown to find the culprit. Satori sends Orin to investigate because she doesn't feel like coming and lets her do the gathering of the information that she then tries to piece together. Well, they quickly settle on Sakya being the culprit and lock her down into the basement with Flandre until she confesses. Well, she doesn't confess and insists that she's innocent. Flandre too says that she doubts Sakya would be the culprit. This is further proven with Mailing suddenly coming under attack from an alleged murder attempt. Around the same time, Flandre busts Sakya and herself out from the basement to investigate further. Now let's stop right here. Thus far the story has been really promising. The tension is high and there's a real feel of mystery going on, so at this point I was really excited for what was to come. And I admit, I was suspecting that Flandre was the main culprit, but as all of you probably know, that didn't turn out to be the case. So let's see how this all unraveled. At this point, everyone's quite baffled, so Satori has to come to SDM herself to solve the case. Patchouli insists that Sakya is the main culprit, but she denies this. But when Satori finally talks to her in person, she confirms that she indeed is responsible for attempt on Patchouli's life. How this is the case, we are not yet revealed. Then it is revealed that it was actually Patchouli who was responsible for Mailing's condition. And how does this all tie together? Well, that's where the story falls completely apart. Now, those of you who have read the story all up until the latest chapter, please tell me who you were suspecting to be the culprit before it was revealed. And if you're saying you had it right, then I know you're lying because you didn't. No one fucking did, because there was absolutely no foreshadow at all. None. The culprit, in fact, was some random evil spirit from former hell that had just been possessing first Sakya, then Patchouli, and then Mei Ling before escaping again. At no point was this even remotely hinted. One of the main keys to this whole thing being that Sakya didn't remember pouring coffee to Patchouli wasn't mentioned until this revelation, because she thought it wasn't relevant to the case. Bitch! Had that small detail been there from the beginning, there might have been some chance for the reader to actually catch what was going on. But instead, Zun decided to withhold the key information in order to make sure the reader doesn't guess the outcome before he directly tells it to you in the cheapest possible revelation. There was absolutely no way for the reader to guess this. And how was the case solved after this? Well, it wasn't even resolved. The culprit goes to Hakugyokuro next. And well, as much as I hate this sudden switch of scenery, I still have to give it to Zun that at least there's some consistency. The chapter ends with we seeing Marisa carrying a bottle of sake to Hakugyokuro. We don't know this yet, but it turns out Marisa was being possessed, so she getting the evil spirit to Hakugyokuro does make some sense, but it still does not explain how in the fuck did she get possessed after Mei Ling, or how she was still being possessed in later chapters when the evil spirit was caught by Ran and Chen. Now, there's a chance all this might be explained, but at the moment my hopes aren't high. This story has absolutely wiped its ass with everything a detective story should be. A detective story should challenge and entice its reader to try and piece the puzzle together, with the price of getting to say "I knew it" if they managed to figure out the puzzle before it's being revealed. That's the main focus, the main attraction. But instead of doing what a detective story should be, Zun decided to just tell the reader, "Didn't see this coming, did you? Huh?" and slaps you in the face with a new character that was not foreshadowed in any way, shape or form. And as an evil spirit, it won't probably have even any dialogue in the story and will just be captured at the end by some cheap plot twist like the ending of Wild and Hornet Hermit. But still, don't get me wrong. Even though I greatly dislike what the story has turned into, I'm still not refusing the possibility that Zun could turn this around somehow and blow us away. I just really don't see it happening, knowing how the stories before this have gone. But I digress. There are still good things about this story, like the character interactions we got and the fact that Marisa is actually pitted into the bad guy category in this one, which may or may not result in some juicy content. But I guess we just have to wait and see and pray that Zun somehow manages to pull this sinking ship back above the surface. Because the way Touhou has been progressing recently, Zun desperately needs to up his game. But anyhow, this has once again been a sort of a rant about things I feel like Zun has done wrong. And like always, these are just my opinions and you're free to disagree. Also, regarding this theory/Lord Talk series, if you have any points or ideas you'd like me to talk about, feel free to leave them into the comments. I'm always reading them. But now, like always, I have to bid you a farewell. My name is Touhou, and we'll see in the next video.
Nyt meni hermot.